Thank God for Mrs. Thatcher, they used to say. As if she was, if you like, a deliverer, deus ex machina. I don't think she ever, not until her very last days, where she did show slight signs of queenliness, not queeniness, queenliness, did she seem to think that. I think she just thought that the British people had it in them to do better than the fantastic mediocrity of the 70s. The sort of grim, dirty, rude, low productivity, resigned. He used to be the most overrated man in America and running for the position of most overrated man in the world. He's now, I think, lost both simply by being himself. He's a nullity. He's a hole in the air. The triumph of Baptist rectitude, I think. The most you'd ever want to see of how perfect it can be. A great man of ideas and of action, but very rarely met in combination. A man who could write about Freud, about surrealism, about literature and art. Wrote a wonderful article called The Struggle for Cultured Speech, saying the thing that was wrong with the Russian was how full of cursing and slave talk it was. A person of heroic proportions and qualities. And for one brief time, which makes him imperishable in history, the leading rhetorical opponent and warner against both Hitler and Stalin in Europe at the same time, and a martyr to that struggle. Someone whose place in history hasn't yet been established, but the only one of the early 20th century Bolsheviks who is really worth considering is still in the 21st. Václav Havel, perfect for my profession and yours. Ironic, understated, non-fanatical, non-violent, by folding his arms and putting a smile, a knowing smile on his face, was able to ridicule the whole edifice of totalitarianism. When the invasion of Czechoslovakia occurred in 1968, W.H. Auden was living just across the border in Austria, and he wrote a very short poem called The Ogre, which I can recite. It goes, I think, it says, "The ogre does what ogres can, deeds quite impossible for man, but one prize is beyond his reach. The ogre cannot master speech. About a subjugated plain, amid the suffering and the slain, the ogre stalks with hands on hips, while drivel gushes from his lips." That's 20 years before, in Prague, the Civic Forum movement and its allies, by putting on plays, by writing poems, by publishing essays, by making jokes, by demonstrating the value of the written word and life lived in truth, and by nothing else, no car bombs, no bullying, no fanaticism, just brought the ogre to a halt and let the air completely out of the bag. No one who had anything to do with it or lived through that will ever forget it. And the personal symbol of it will always be Václav Havel.
Well, I think that's a fitting end. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think it probably is too.